Question for you. If someone broke into your house tonight and stole your coin collection, what do you think the odds are that the police would solve the crime? Spoiler alert, it's less than 1 in 5. And even for murder, US police only solve about 6 out of every 10 cases. That's better than betting red at the roulette table, but not by much. So, how do we know if police are doing their job? Most people look at whether crime is going up or down, but crime rates don't always tell the full story. And that is where clearance rates come in. Hi, Dave here from Aggregated. Today we're talking about clearance rates, what they are, how they work, and whether they're the best way to measure police performance. In a previous episode, we talked about how NIBRS is finally starting to track non-fatal shootings. Today, we're going to be looking at another feature of the system, clearance rates, which is more or less how often crimes get solved or cleared. We all love the idea of a razor-sharp Sherlock Holmes type person in every department, brilliantly observing crimes, methodically outlining conclusions with structured reasoning, all wrapped up with a short soliloquy with measured flair, but that's not reality. So what does the data actually tell us? On paper, clearance rates do sound pretty simple. You take the total number of crimes, divide by the number that ended with an arrest, and you multiply by 100. Boom. A higher number should mean a better department, right? Well, not exactly. Clearance rates are calculated by taking the number of cases cleared. This can be either by arrest or due to exceptional circumstances that prevents an arrest, such as the death of the offender or the refusal of the victim to cooperate. It's counted for the year that it's cleared regardless of when the offense occurred. Take that number and divide it by the number of offenses in this year. So if a murder from 30 years ago is solved today, then it's included in this year's clearance rate. So this leads to some weird instances where a department will sometimes report clearance rates above 100%. In 2020, for example, Costa Mesa, California reported 2 murders and 34 murder clearances, good for a 1,700% murder clearance rate. We could think of clearance rates like baseball batting averages. A player who's hitting 300 gets a hit 30% of the time, right? But that number doesn't tell you when those hits happen or whether they help to win the game. The number alone just doesn't tell you the full story. Research shows that the amount of time and staff dedicated to solving crimes is frequently what determines which crimes get solved more often than not. It's things like the number of assigned officers, the ability to find witnesses or recover and process evidence from the scene that really greatly affect outcomes. And generally, murder cases usually get more attention and resources, while property crime, like your stolen silver dollars, will often get pushed aside. This is why we have a huge gap in solve rates between murder and everything else. Our most recent estimates put clearance rates for murder at 61%, the highest of any crime category, but still far below other developed countries. In the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, clearance rates dropped across the board to the lowest rates ever recorded. There has been an uptick in clearance rates for all crimes over the last 2 years, but as of 2024, violent crime solve rates are still well below 50%. And those property crimes we keep mentioning, less than 20% result in an arrest. So, are clearance rates a good measure of police performance? Sometimes, but only if you know how to read them and know that the numbers alone aren't going to tell you the full story. So that's it for this episode of Aggregated. Next time, we'll talk about how the United States goes about counting all the crime that doesn't get reported.